Hello, everyone. Yes, welcome to. I was going to say thank God it's Potty. Thank Potty, it's Friday. Now, this is something that might happen Fridays, might not. But I asked my good friend Jess to come on, and basically, it's like a little chat between me and Jessie to kind of, for me, as much as anybody else, to find out a little bit more personal about Jessie, because we all know Jessie, plot 37, chickens, cats, you know what I mean, shower. We all know just little things like that. But I thought, oh, it would be lovely to kind of just sit down for a little bit with Jessie and just kind of have a chat and just try and find out a little bit more about her, so you know as well as that, who Jessie Sheffield is. Jessie, hello,
Hello.
hello,
Hello.
hello. Well, Jess, first up, then, you know what I mean. Tell us a little bit, because I know you're a southern lass. Tell us a little bit about your background. Like where you grew up and siblings and things like that.
Yeah, well, the house that I'm in now recording is like my childhood home. Like it was my grandmother's house before it was my mum and dad's house, or my dad's house with a couple of wives before my mum. I can't remember sometime. It's been our house for a long time, and I grew up here. So, yeah, Richmond, South London. That's where I'm
And
from, really.
what about brothers and sisters? Because I'm sure you mentioned a sister, and
I've
is your
got
sister into gardening as well, or
Yeah, so I've got one sister. We don't have the same mum, like pretty much.
we're all there, we're all in that same.
Yeah,
I'm there as well, Jess. Yeah.
yeah. She's quite a lot older than me, but we're both really like. She used to be an air hostess. She was a British Airways purser for like
Right.
my whole childhood, and then when lockdown happened, um, obviously they let go of a lot of the old fleet of British Airways, and she was old fleet. So yeah, and she'd always done bits and pieces of gardening. Like I'd done a bit of gardening with her previously when I was a kid and stuff, and now she's doing that mostly full time. So she's gone like full on to that. But she has got a garden. My goodness, I
Is
envy
it?
her garden so much. It's huge. Well, I mean, it seems huge to me because my garden's a postage stamp. So, but yeah, she's a good gardener.
And is she just curious? Is good gardener in vegetables, or is it more like, say, borders and flowers and that kind of for your sis?
Yeah, I mean, she has like her garden's like split long ways in two, and she's got vegetable beds down one side and then proper garden down the other
Oh,
side. So she's a
wow.
pretty even mix of the two.
Right.
She's a bit wayward on that front. Like she's sown her tomatoes already. It's a bit. I know, I know. I don't want to make this a controversial chat, but
And we always see your mum in the allotment. Your mum must, I mean, my mum, you know what I mean? It's where I learned, from my mum, the kind of the garden and love. Is that the same with you as well, or is your mum just picked up gardening because you're gardening?
no. Well, I mean, we've had the allotment a very long time, but I'd say I didn't really do a huge. I mean, I spent a lot of time on the allotment when I was younger, but didn't really do a lot of it. It was when I left, when I moved out. So I left when I was like 16, and then from that point, like I did a lot of gardening, and I was a gardener, and I did various bits and pieces in the gardening world, like from that point on. So, and then
All
when I
right.
came back here, I obviously like came back to the allotment with a fresh sort of perspective.
Right, all right. I never knew. So the allotment's been in kind of your family then? Is that what you're saying? So it's been like your
Yeah.
mum's allotment
So
before?
it's a bit of a spoiler, but I'm doing for my 200th episode, I'm doing like a history of plot
It's going out tonight,
37.
Jess.
Yeah, but we've had it a long time. So, and I've
Right.
got some fantastic like old photos and stuff from it. So yeah, I just got all my numbers wrong on my last vlog. It was actually 196, but everything says 197. So we're like one ahead of where we were supposed to be. Brilliant, very professional. But it for the 200th episode, I'm going to do like a look back at all the
Right.
different incarnations it's been
So
and stuff.
out of curiosity, then, what age were you when the allotment kind of came into your world? Are you talking about this 5-year-old little girl there playing with her toys there, or is it
Three when I was three.
really right? Oh,
Yeah.
you've had it a good long. Is it a council allotment, or is
Yeah.
it like a private? Right.
No, it's a council one. Yeah, but it's funny. A lot of the people on our site have had their allotment sort of a similar amount of time or longer. Like there's a lady up the road from us, Irene. She and her husband got theirs in 1971. So like, there's a lot of different allotments on the
Uh-huh.
site that held like by the same people
Yous
for a
aren't
really.
giving yous aren't giving them allotments up, are you not? You're gonna hold
No,
them. Do you know what I
it's
mean? You've
literally
no
like dead
chance.
man's shoes.
Yes, yes. Have you always then, Jess, been interested in garden from that young age? Or is it, because we know you now as kind of Jess, the YouTuber who've got some amazing knowledge. So have you been like self-taught? Well, what I'm saying is like, have you been like self-taught and you learn by your mistakes, or did you go to college for it or
I did go to college. I went to the RHS college in Regent's Park.
right? Oh, get
Um,
you.
but that was that was a while ago. Um, yeah, that was a long time ago. And then, but I had been working as a gardener previous to that, and then I did that course. And then I moved to France for a while, so I was like all over. And then when I came back to the UK, I was really lucky to get a job in like the best garden centre in the world. Like there's a little tiny garden centre, independent one in just on the Earls Court Road in Kensington called Rassels. And I worked there sort of on and off for about 12 years.
Right,
Not like solidly, but like 1 2 days a week. And it was so good for your knowledge of plants, just because people are coming in and bombarding you with questions constantly, and you have to know, you don't have a choice. So it's quite a plantsmansy sort of garden centre rather than being like a home base or a squires. It's like a like plant nursery
right.
style one. So yeah, I tried my gardening sort of career consisted mainly of me trying to convince women in Chelsea with incredibly posh gardens that they needed chard in their borders. Like it just
I've
was.
heard you say, yeah.
I always wanted everybody to have some vegetables or at least a fruit tree in their garden or something, and they were just not keen. They just wanted verbena and tall grass. Like that's
Oh,
it. So
funny, I was just going to say that must have been like an uphill struggle then trying to get that
yeah,
kind of.
but I gave up in the end. There was
All right,
it was
that didn't work.
just impossible. Yeah, it was impossible. And then I tried like doing a thing to try and get people who did want to do vegetables in their garden, like going around and just helping them. So I'd set up the vegetable beds with them and then like help them. So I'd be there on call if they wanted to know something or like
Right,
varieties or whatever. But that turned out to be hell on earth and just not worth doing. And it was also a lot of people, rather than they wanted kids to do it, and kids they just weren't that interested. And also I don't get on very well with children, so it wasn't.
it's not a good mix. Then I can from
Oh,
the off, I can see that's not going to work.
there was
Then
some fails there in my plan. Yeah.
so going back then, just chat. What was the spark? Because it was my mum for me that kind of gave us that initial spark. And look, I mean, I can remember going to my granddad's, but I was just like a kid, and I was just digging holes. I
Yeah.
wasn't gardening, but it was my mum that got us into the love of. What was it for you?
Well, neither of my grandparents on either side had anything to do with gardening. I love it when people are like, "Oh, I learned from my granddad," or whatnot. My granddad was in Sydney, and he had the most spectacular kumquat tree in the garden, but that was it. Like this huge, it was just full of cockatiels screeching
Right,
like bloody murder. That was it. But yeah, I think although we had the allotment, um, I was saying this the other day actually, that I had work experience. When you're about, was it like 13, 14, and
you
you
get a
have to go and
week.
do like 3 weeks or
Yes,
whatever working somewhere. And everybody wanted to do graphic design at the time. And so everybody had applied for these things. No one got it. Anyway, I ended up going to work at Hampton Court Palace in the gardens for my like work experience. Met this fantastic guy there who I like seemed to me incredibly elderly, but I think he was probably only about 60. And yeah, I think that was it. Like that was amazing, just working on those huge long borders with this guy. I just thought it was amazing. Loved it.
see, it's funny because that's just ticked a memory in mind, Jess, where I can remember this. You would go for a week from school, like a week's work experience, and I went
Yeah.
to the parks department, and
Oh, did you?
I was in the greenhouses, and for 5 days, I just washed plant pots. So I didn't get that love, Jess. I
Oh,
was
I thought
just,
you were going to give us a heartwarming story about
no,
this being the crucible of it.
no,
No.
I just kind of, me and another lad just washed plastic plant pots day in, day out. You know what I mean?
Oh,
For them,
wow.
like 5 days at school. It was just like horrific. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
To be fair, I wasn't the only one of the girls who went to do this particular work experience. And one poor girl I remember, her name was Jo, and she got put on the knot gardens, and she was there with a pair of scissors for the full 2 weeks, just like that. And the thing,
right.
she hated every second of it. Like I
So
was
that's
pretty
mine.
lucky.
That's lovely because you can kind of pinpoint it was that chap who, with that knowledge, planted the seed and kind
Yeah,
of took, as Jesse as we know today. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So what? How did you go then from that? Of kind of with your allotment to thinking I'm going to make some money here and I'm gonna be a YouTuber because they don't go together. Do you know what I mean? It's like such a
No,
fickle thing, YouTube, and you're trying to make a living out of
so,
it.
I mean, that was a total, just a fluke. So I've had like two careers running simultaneously, like since I was about 16. So my two like degrees that I've got are both in sculpture, and
They're
the other one,
handy.
yeah, practical little number that. Um, but yeah, having the two go alongside each other, like when I came back and I was doing a lot of work on the allotment, and then when I lost my job because I was a technician at the Royal College, the moment that lockdown hit, there was no furlough, there was nothing. It was a hourly, like just zero contract, I think they're called. So one day I was in, and then I just got a telephone call that evening saying, "Don't come in tomorrow. We don't know what the situation is." And then I never went back. Like that was it.
Hmm.
So I had no job, I had nothing. I was incredibly lucky that I was living here, so I wasn't out on my ear. But that's what it was. We had that beautiful spring, and I just started recording. I didn't even know that you could make money from YouTube because I had an Instagram account. I assumed that when people make money off YouTube, it was the same way that you would have to make money on Instagram, which is like by sponsorships, like by directly asking people for money, rather than just YouTube just magically paying you. I
Hmm.
didn't re- I didn't realize that was a thing. So yeah, it's come about completely unexpectedly, totally unexpected. There was no plan
So
at all.
just out of, looking after you, Jess, have you, because YouTube to me seems a very fickle bridge to like
It
to
is.
live off and depend, for the future. How do how do you look for the future, like pensions, you know what I mean? Like not retirement, but being
Yeah.
comfortable and safe in like money situations later on.
Well, I've never really had a particularly like a job where you kind of get a paycheck the same time every month, and you um, have a sort of a pension scheme or whatever. It's never really not happened so far, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen in the near future either. Yeah, so it's just yeah, I tend not to think about it, to be fair, because it's just dreadful.
Well, see, it's funny
But
because
actually,
I've come from the where it was like a waterboard. It was like,
yeah,
and you had like old timers, young'un, put your money in your pension, put your money in you know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's kind of how my mentality works, you know what I mean? And it's even now with, my daughter and my son, do you know what I mean? Make sure you got a pension. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, so Jesse, make sure you've got a pension, you know?
it's just that's a gaping hole in my existence. Yeah, there's just like a blank spot where the pension pot should be. But I mean, I pay national insurance, with my when I put the tax return in, but that's like the limit of it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, could be a bit of a worry in a few years'
Oh,
time.
well, from that then, just not worry about the future. Do you know what I mean? So,
Out now.
j- from speaking from me, I love, with the kind of YouTube, it's the making the videos as well. Or is it for you making the videos or passing on knowledge or just share, or what is it that makes you want to be a YouTuber for gardening?
We're sort of the things really. Like there's nothing about it I don't like other than the occasional dodgy comment from people. Like that's the only sort of downside really. I really like what it's done for like my relationship with the allotment because it's how do you put it? It's like the allotment relationship changed first of all when we got the chickens because it suddenly meant you had to be up there at least every 2 days. Like you have to be up there every day, really. But if you needed to, you can kind of leave it for 2 days if they're well stocked. Um, so that was the first big thing that sort of changed it. And then when I started making these videos, it suddenly became very much like I'm thinking ahead all the time of what I need to do rather than just showing up there and being like, which I think has changed it. So I love that aspect of it. And you must be the same. Like it does change your relationship with your plot.
Odd. Well, I'm so getting connected there when you said that because it does. If I didn't have YouTube, maybe I might not. You know, I'm so passionate about the garden, but maybe I might not go up all the time, or you know what I mean. Where this does get you up, and you think,
It
right,
does.
I'll video doing this, and then you've done that job, and it's like that job might not have gotten done because of the video.
Yeah,
Yes, you might plant potatoes and sow onions and things like that, but especially with you going day, basically every day to the allotment. It's a lovely thing to have, a lovely job to have, though, Jess, is it?
no good. Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier about trying to encourage people to grow veg never really worked. It's like just kind of taking it full circle back round the other way, but I found a way to do what I was trying to do by going into people's gardens before. Like I found a way to do it
So,
without doing that.
what is that out of that whole scenario, and Jess? What is your favorite part of like gardening YouTube? And is it like the video? Is it the garden, or is it just the whole? Because we even this what we do now, you know what I
It's
mean?
all part of it.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just keeps on getting bigger and bigger.
it does.
Fab.
Yeah, that's such a difficult question to ask because it's all so rolled into one. Like yeah, it all sort of becomes one thing. Even like doing the gardening itself, like planting stuff out, becomes part of the. You're thinking about it as a video. You know, like
Yes,
you
definitely. Yeah.
see in your head what you're doing, almost like you're replaying it over your own actions of like what you're supposed to be recording. So it all becomes really like close knit, and but also the people that you meet. I mean, like this, like I would
Hmm.
never have met you without doing that, and it's just you do meet some really good people.
Now, what I've noticed, like, and I'm probably the worst enemy. You've stuck. I think you've stuck using your iPhone to record everything. Where I'm kind of camera here, camera there, lights, you know what I mean, the whole kind of
Yeah.
kit. You can just do the whole lot on. Do you never want to go like more and get like more technical? Are you quite happy with just like a camera and a tripod, or your phone and a tripod?
Yeah, I mean, I like the immediacy of just having it on my phone because I also record a lot of stuff that's not at the allotment. Like, I mean, some of the stuff's a bit random. Like, obviously, showergate has been a feature, and like this week's vlog starts with me at the London Aquarium. Just looking at jellyfish. So it's like not all of it is just like static filming at the
Mhm.
allotment. And I like the immediacy of just knowing I've always got it on me because I'm not going to carry a camera around. I'm just not.
What
So
I've always wondered as well, because I've watched a couple, where you go out with the girls for it. What does your friends think when you've always got, I'll just film this. Just, you know what I mean? Are they a bit, oh, not me, not again, not again, Jess. You know what I mean? Is it like that?
they're totally fine with it now. There was a lot of eye rolling at the beginning. Because like I'm the least likely person to be a YouTuber. Like it's just not a thing. Um, I never used to take photographs, never used to do do anything. And then so they all know me from like previous. And then we've had lockdown and I've come back a different person who's like got a camera like this all the time. So but then now they just don't even worry about it. They're
Well,
just like,
see, with
yeah,
me, it's just like if I take even like a little cam, you're not, don't. Just enjoy the day without you know what I mean? Because
yeah.
it's inbred, it's inbred into it now with a kind of, oh, that'll be good, you know what I mean? And kind of just get
Hmm.
in focus and sometimes you miss the view because you're trying to get, you know what I mean? And we've chatted about this when we're like on the technical side, and I'm interested to find out, Jess, because even like my phone, uh, how do you manage your filing system? Because that would be like you must have to take it off your phone, delete, juggle it around.
Oh, this is the thing. It's like, the other day when we were talking to Tony O'Neill, it's like this is somewhere that I've really messed up. And there's not many things that I would go back and change, but the fundamental I would change is that I would file my videos as I was making them into the correct file, and I'd have them on an external hard drive because they're just in the cloud.
Hmm.
And I've got it's like I think it's like 63,000 videos just completely just there, just like floating in an amorphous blob with like no organization, nothing. And you delete all of yours, which is absolutely incredible. I
Well,
I don't. It's all just sat there. Like
well,
it's
see,
ridiculous.
I think we're both at the same, because you would just love to kind of get on your keyboard and type tomatoes, and it'll just all your tomato, and I think Tony O'Neill can do that with
Yeah, you
his.
can.
Do you know what I mean? Where I would have to go, how do I find it on YouTube is the first hurdle because I haven't really titled them very well. Do you know what I mean? And then I'd have to download it at a poor quality if I want it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just like I try not to think of that, Jess. So
Yeah.
it's
But it's like today, for example, I was recording earlier, I was just recording like things that I'm going to be sewing in January. And I'm talking about things that I'm going to be sewing. Well, it'd be so useful to just be able to be like, and here I'll stick in footage of me sewing from last year,
mhm.
because then it kind of has a bit of narrative to it. No, I've not got a chance of finding that. There's just
No, oh,
no
I know. I just exactly the same, and I just like hats off to like the likes of Charlie Dowden that can just has all that footage kicking
yeah.
around
I
as well. But
think that's what happens when you've got an army of people working for you,
mhm.
though.
So it's obvious then, Jess. It's just you,
Oh yeah, yeah,
Jessie
it's just me.
Sheffield, plot 37. It's just you, is it?
Yeah.
What's what's the I guess the scariest part of that then, Jess? Is it looking at the future, or is it just like dealing with YouTube and its politics, or comments, like you say, viewers' comments? What is the thing that gets you kind of chewed up in the morning?
I think mainly it's just the uncertainty of it because you're entirely reliant on YouTube. I mean, I'm incredibly lucky to have like this little support group next to me on Patreon who like just just keep my
Mhm.
head above water when things because obviously as you know like the YouTube not just the algorithm and all of that side of things, but actually, even if you're just getting the same consistent number of views, your actual revenue fluctuates so much depending on time of year and all these other factors that come into it. So you could have, like, you see, it's like I get quite a lot of people actually asking me about like how to start, how do you actually get going and how do you start a YouTube channel? And they're like, so how much do you get per thousand views or per view or whatever? And there's just no answer to that.
Oh,
There's
it,
no answer to that
no,
at all.
no.
Like the difference between, say, a January 1,000 views, which is very poor.
Yeah, it's lean months at the moment for, isn't it?
Oh, oh, it's just yeah, it's grim. January's grim. But then you've got like July or whatever when the you get more money per thousand views. So, but yeah, it's not particularly stable. And
It
then I've got
actually,
this like the people on Patreon just like
well,
just keep me above the
that's
water.
that's the one thing I've kind of learned from everything. You know what I mean? Is that if YouTube went away, at least you've got some, because you hear these horror stories where YouTube deletes your channel
Oh yeah,
on a mistake more than anything. You know what I mean? Yeah, they can pull it back, but trying to get in touch with them. Do you know what I mean? And especially it's your livelihood. It's what you get up in the morning for. It's what the money's in the bank for. You know what I mean? And
exactly,
if that's
exactly.
gone, what
It's
is
just dicey.
does Instagram come into this? I don't want to kind of dig into your personal like finance
No,
details, but is Instagram, or is it just a
I
like another
mean,
platform?
I really enjoyed Instagram when it was a photo app. It was
Hmm.
just photographs. But I've got to say, since I started my YouTube channel, I've pretty much ditched Instagram. I occasionally post something on there, but I like the way YouTube works so much better than the way Instagram works. Like you can actually contact someone on YouTube for one thing. Like you can kind of get an answer from them and you can report stuff much more easily. Um, and you get paid directly from them, whereas I find Instagram a bit difficult. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's well, I don't know what it was before, but it's like now Meta, which is Facebook, which is you know what I mean, like an hideous company anyway. So,
It's just like stupid little videos of people having a boogie about something, and then
mhm.
that's what kind of gets traction, which is absolutely fine. Like I don't mind watching people having a boogie with a carrot or something, but it's like it's not something I particularly want to make. And so what I'm putting out there just kind of goes by the wayside. So
Do you ever do then just
it's a shit.
because YouTube's tried to like jump on this side of thing with shorts and stuff. Does that ever?
Yeah.
Do you ever bother with the shorts or no? Just
No, I think if I was again better with filing, and I had access to like the small little snippets of things, I mean, I probably could make more of shorts than I do, but I've not really
Mhm,
bothered.
mhm,
I just keep around with the statistics so much, because I have such a consistent like upload schedule and everything's of sort of roughly the same length. I've got really consistent statistics. And I think if I start throwing shorts in there, it's gonna
mhm.
throw it all out of whack.
Well, I mean, don't go down the e-bike route then. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Lesson learned there, Tony Smith. There, note for future self. What the hell you doing? You know what I mean? So I've still got 33 to do. You know what I mean? And I think that's it after that. You know what I mean? Because like you say, it's plus now. It's my video kind of today, Jess. Is just when you called, I was editing it. It's like
Yeah.
we're just now on the season to kick off. It's that excitement, on the precipice kind of thing. So, what are you excited about in gardening techniques then, Jess? Or do you not get, like a new? I'm not saying new craze comes along, but let's just say like no dig or raised beds. Is there anything that kind of still gets your attention?
Um, well, this year I'm pretty excited about using the quad grows. This would be the first time I've used anything like that. I've never done anything. I know it's like semi hydroponic, but I've never used anything like that. So that's really exciting. Um, I don't know. I mean, we haven't, the only beds that we ever dig are the potato beds, and that's to get the potatoes out. We haven't dug, we haven't had like a digging routine on our allotment for, 35 years or something. So it's never
So,
been
can we say then you were there before Charlie Dowden? No dig,
a
yeah.
long before him. It was a huge craze at like the late 80s, early 90s. Nobody was digging. Like,
Right. Well, see now, I can it that to me the no dig's just coming. So are you saying no dig was like in the 80s, no dig?
90s, yeah, late 80s, early
Right,
90s, it was a
right.
thing. And so with raised beds and stuff, you don't dig raised beds. So,
Hmm. Do you
yeah,
like raised beds or are you
yes,
and
I'm firmly in the raised bed camp.
w-
Yeah,
give us a reason? Because I sometimes see like a lot, well, quite a few numbers. Oh, you don't want to be doing raised beds. It's not, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, well, I've always, as much as I can done. Well, I'm fully raised bed there now. So why do
yeah.
you like it then, Jess?
Um, I like the way it works in terms of like being able to, because I've got grass paths, being able to strim up to something solid is a
Oh, you've
major
you've said that
advantage.
before. Yes, that must like so. Them long bits of grass must really get to you. When
Oh,
you cut. Oh, is that something?
yeah, and a push mower, one of those old like rotary mower things, and sometimes it won't get the long grass. So you've done this really all down the paths and everything, and it's all looking really snaz. And you look back and there's like just these ones like this sticking up, and you go around there with the scissors. Like,
So
but yeah, I really like the raised beds because that they're so easy, but also I find it. I mean, the allotment's been in so many different guises. It's been long, like whole length beds of the whole allotment. Um, it's been tiny beds, divided beds, everything. And the way it is at the moment, I just find it really easy to kind of keep track of everything because it's almost like a spreadsheet. You've got each little one is all kind of split up, and my brain just seems to deal with that a lot better than it all just being open plan. You could put anything anywhere.
are you just because this is another thing that I kind of mentioned on my video just today. Are you quite frugal with your allotment? Like you actually spending money on it, or I'm just terrible. Do you know what I mean? It's just like money burns a hole in my pocket. So that's I'm coming from that way. I kind of just it just gets spent. You know what I mean? Are you good with money?
I
Like,
think I think I would be worse, but Like I've said said this before in another video, Mum got upset about it, but it is true. It's like if you know that feeling when you go to a garden centre and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have this here, this is it, and you can't come out with like less than a whole trolley full. Go with my mum because she will shame you into buying nothing. She's really, you don't need that. No.
Right.
All the way around the garden centre. It's like I really want to buy some more mesh to go around because I'm trying to fight these blooming badgers. I've got all these schemes in my head, and I'm like, I'm going to have mesh along this side and this and then. And she's like, you're not buying that.
Yeah,
So yeah, we buy nothing. We buy nothing. Everything on there is free. Like the shed we got out of somebody's back garden down there. My swing seat was given away at the bottom of the road. Like we just don't buy anything.
me and your mum wouldn't get on then, Jess, I'm afraid.
No,
You know what I
what like
mean?
it's
I'll not
frustrating.
be ever invited to Jessie Sheffield's for Sunday lunch there now because you know what I mean? I don't think she'll like us.
Yeah, I can't. I would really like to spend some more money on it. But I mean it's sensible not to, but at the same time, it's like, yeah,
I love it, Jess, that this is your career. You know, for me, it's like a hobby and it's just fun and games. But is there what's the biggest challenge you've had then, Jess, to kind of just make this a living? Do you know, because it's a when you think about it, it's a bizarre living that
it is a very bizarre
you know what I
living.
mean? It's like you're kind
Yeah.
of an internet, I'm saying like internet star, but it's an internet, TV show basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I mean generally I'm a bit kind of all over the place. I just kind of gung ho with stuff in general. Like I do a bit of this and then I'm full force in that direction, and then the brakes are on and I'm full force in the other direction. And just having like the 3 years and actually consistently every week video out, like I think that's probably been my biggest challenge because some weeks I just don't really fancy it, but you still do it,
Uh-huh.
which is
Uh-huh.
which is good. It is really good to do it.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, how do you go up, once a week I'll get that video out when it's the depths of winter and I've been up today and there's not, there's nothing really to talk about, never mind I know you've got your chickens and that. How do you, because your videos are an hour long. Do you know what I mean? Or roughly an hour long, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 45 minutes
One,
an hour. Yeah.
yeah. What's,
It's
it's girls on the town then, eh? Let's video, let's fill it up with, you know,
nothing to do at the garden today. Let's just go to the pub.
uh-huh,
Yeah. Something you were talking earlier about like what the bit is that you like the most about kind of the filming or the gardening aspect of it. And I think that's it. It's like I go up there and sometimes it's cold, it's miserable, and you're trudging. You know that walk when you just really don't want to be out and about. And then you get up there and you're like, oh, I don't really know what to do. Don't want you to show. Well, you get the camera out and you're like, right, well, I've got to find something. And you do. You
uh-huh.
always find something to do. And then when you've done it, you're like, well, yeah, that's great because I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have to film it. So I think it's like a kick up the backside, sometimes when you don't want to be there.
Well, that's honestly, that's kind of putting the hairs up the back. I mean, neck that, Jess, because it's so right. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, what? Go on then. Do you know what I mean? And you go up and then it's a, oh. And then, but by the time you're coming back, you're excited to get back because you've had a good day, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you've had a good, how do you then, Jess, just, you've got all your, do you go up every day and film and then edit at the end of the week? Or I'm interested in that, how it all, because I go up 10 minutes camera work and then I'm back sometimes, you know what I mean? And edit and it's
Yeah.
away. How do you do it?
I'm week. I've actually changed it. Like when I first started out, it was very much like a diary. I'd be going up there every day. It would say Friday, Tuesday, sort of thing on the screen. And I mean that sort of my editing style has changed obviously because you learn to edit better, don't you? And I had no experience editing at all at the beginning, so ropey. But like now I tend to film over 2 days normally, and I end up with about maybe 4 hours footage. And then I whittle that down to 45 minutes and I
Mhm.
do it all on one day. Like I just sit down and do it.
Do you
And then
en do you enjoy that part of it? Because I honestly, I love that part of it. It's
yeah,
maybe actually not even the sitting down and doing it, but it's the excitement of what it's going to turn into
Mm,
You know what I mean? How do you feel about that? Is it a chore? Because I've
no.
seen JB sometimes edits, and it's just like so complicated. Do you know what I mean? He's like B-roll sound. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I could
Yeah.
do that, but
Sometimes they are complicated, and like when you've got what's like 4 hours of footage in LumaFusion, and you like cut, 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 and then there's like layers because up until me not having this what's I'm pointing at it, what's it called? A microphone. It's over there. It like I'd have to voice over a lot of stuff because the sound is so bad at the allotment. Um that like that would take up a lot of time. And I found that I wouldn't say tiresome because I still enjoyed doing it, but it wasn't my favorite bit.
Mhm.
Whereas now I've got really good sound actually coming through onto the video. The editing's a much more like fluid process, and I don't have like all these layers because to keep the background sound when you're doing a voiceover, I have to like go through and cut background sound in all these little segments and then lay them underneath.
yes.
It doesn't break, and then and it's just like, oh,
I
I
know,
don't have to do that now, which is wonderful.
I know exactly. You know what I mean? I've put sometimes like sound back in. You know what I mean? Where it kind
Yeah.
of I've like it spoils, and I've had to like take sound from another section, and put it in there. And that's the art of movie making, Jess. It's the art of movie
So
making.
also having mum in the background, like she talks a lot, but it's very rarely relevant to what's going on. So like I'm saying, I'm just going to prune my purple sprouting broccoli or whatever, and she's going, oh, there's a shit on the floor over there, about like some fox has pooed in the corner. So constantly trying to edit these little bits out of mum chatting. And also a lot of the video footage, I love it. One day I'm going to do like an outtakes video of it because a lot of the time I've set the camera up, and I'm like this, and I go, I'm just going to have a look at the garlic, and mum goes, okay. She thinks I'm talking to her, so we've got like this constant clash of like, it's good.
So I guess your mum must enjoy gardening as well. It's for her, it's getting out and getting, you know what I mean, sort as well. So is there you don't have to answer this, Jess. Is there a time where you think, oh, Mum, I just want to get up there and do the thing and I'll come back and or does your mum like every time want to kind of, I'm coming, let get me coat,
uh, she's up there more than I am at the
right?
moment because she takes the car up there and she goes to visit the chickens like every day, or every other day, whatever's happening. She does that mainly. Um, Last year when she was waiting to have her hip replaced, and it was solely on my shoulders. Like she couldn't even get up there because there's no way. Firstly, she couldn't drive, but also you can't drive to our allotment. So it's like a good 5 minute walk from either
Hmm.
like point that you can get closest with the car. So she wasn't up there at all. And it was about from the beginning of March all the way through to autumn when she didn't come up there once. And at first I hated it, absolutely hated it. It was really miserable. And then by the time she was coming back up again, I was a bit like,
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, like that wasn't where I was going to plant that, you know. But it's all fallen back into place again now.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a quite a. I just work good together.
Yeah.
You would say that because
Oh,
mum might watch
you
this
do.
video, you know what I mean? So yeah, yeah, she does. She does, mum. She
It's
works
just
lovely
constant
together.
squabbling. No, we do. We work fine together. I mean,
You
I
don't go
mean,
around pulling up the garlic that she's just planted the day before and say, right, I'm going to put it in my.
has made us really much better at labeling because when it's just you're like, well, I've sown that there and I've sown that there and I'll remember that. Well, if somebody else comes, you'll come along the next day and it's been raked, where you've just sown something. So you've got to be quite good at like labeling stuff. But she's very good at the kind of the pottering side of it. Whereas like I was saying earlier, I'm quite gung ho. So I go in and I'm like, bam, I'm doing this project today, or this job, or this job. And she's got a much more like a gardener
Mhm.
style of gardening where she potters and she weeds that bed and then she chops up that for the compost and so it works really well together.
Right, good team. Is just for, tell folks, have you got like a favorite veg, a favorite flower, a favorite? Now I know because you weren't keen on, you had a gunra in there and they've become, so you're quite happy to
Yeah.
let that one go, and
Yeah. I mean, I do love the Gunnera. Like, if I could have got it to grow, I would have been a happy rabbit, but it just wouldn't do anything. So I'm quite pleased to put that one to bed. Um, I used to collect like epimediums. They're like woodland, like a woodland
yes,
ground cover plant with like a heart-shaped leaf and these beautiful little like
yes.
spider-shaped flowers. Just absolutely love them. And I had 10 or 12 different, quite different varieties in the back garden. But then we got vine weevil, and I didn't realize it absolutely wiped out the whole lot. So
All
I'm
right, right.
planning to get a load of epimedium into like underneath the fruit trees at the allotment. Hope I can
If
get them
they're the
started.
ones I'm thinking of, they're quite expensive as well when you see them in. If do they come up like a little white flower or sometimes like a little purple flower? Or have I got the wrong flower, the wrong?
I mean, they're very low growing. They only get to about this sort of height. And yeah, they can have purple. It's mainly sort of white or yellow, and then they do sometimes have a like a
Right.
pinky coloured one.
Right.
Um, but
And
yeah, in terms of the allotment though, I'm all in on zinnias at the moment.
right. What about
Yeah,
veg then? Have you got? I know you mentioned chard before.
hard.
Is it still chard, or is there any new kind of veg, or not new veg, but anything else that?
Do you know, I've just been doing like looking at what I'm going to grow this year, and you look thinking, well, I'm going to be really like pared
Oh,
back this year, and I'm only going to do one variety of this and one variety of this, and then I'm like just reveling in these boxes of seeds. Got to have this one, I've got to have that one, and you end up with like 30 carrot varieties. There's not really many veg that I'm not excited about. Sounds really ridiculous, but like,
is it just is
what
this
to grow?
is it the journey to get the veg, or is your allotment like on the plate? Does that when you think you've achieved it when it's on the plate, or is it just the whole process of like because
Oh,
sometimes I just like to grow it for the sake of
yeah.
growing. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to get on the. I know that sounds a bit, but if it doesn't get on the plate, but I still enjoyed the seed, the germination, the seedling, all that process. What's it for you?
It's the whole thing, like you said. I mean, it's incredibly satisfying when you end up with a whole dinner that you've grown, obviously. But yeah, there's things that I love growing that I really don't like eating, like tromboncinos. You can eat maybe three or four of them at the beginning of the year when they're really small and they're delicious, but they very quickly become like 4 foot long, and you don't want them anymore. But I'm still going to grow them because I love them. I think they're fantastic and they've got such beautiful big leaves. And that was the same with the chow chow this year. I didn't get a single fruit off it, but the plant was so beautiful. It's all climbed up all over everything and it was lovely. So
Is there a veg that just does not do anything for you? Like I know, again.
many, so many. And one that I'm really confused about is the sweet corn. Like, I've never had a problem with sweet corn before. It's always just been one of those things that you bung in and it does what it
Mhm.
needs to do. The only danger has ever been badgers because they love it as well. But I can't get it to grow. Like the last 3 years,
Right?
it just doesn't do anything, and I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. So that's a bit of a challenge this year because I love sweet corn. But cauliflowers, if it's a one veg that you just can't grow, it's going to be a cauliflower. It's just no, can't do it.
See, that's the thing as well, mind you. You have that. That's the excitement, I think, for gardening because all of a sudden,
Just
when you get a good crop, last year I got a good crop of calabrese. You know what I mean? And it was just like, wow. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Even now, like it excites you. You know what I mean? You've been doing gardening, but even that's what excites you.
oh, it's
Wow.
amazing.
Look, and they were lovely size as well. Yes, look at that.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about
Go
two?
home with like a basket full of they so magnificent. Whatever it is you've grown, it's just like, oh, and beautiful. And when you get a whole basket full of tomatoes, all different sizes, all different colours, and they smell amazing, and it's just like, oh, you can't
Well,
beat it.
Jess, that's honestly, that's again, you cannot beat when you see you taste a tomato from your polytunnel when you're there compared to a shop one that's in a fridge cold. You know what I
Ah,
mean? It's bland, it's like tasteless, but it's almost like eating sweeties. Some of the
yeah,
tomato, like them, the little kind of cherry tomato
yeah, it
ones. You
really
know what I
is.
mean?
Yeah, they're bliss, absolute bliss. And when they're hot from the polytunnel as well, when they're
Yes.
still really warm, it's oh. So it's heaven. You're big on tomatoes, aren't you? They still your absolute favorite.
Well, it's all going to be a little bit unusual because I'm all in on the quad grows this year, Jess. So it's all
Right.
quad grows, tomatoes and chilies. But I'm going to grow more chilies, but it's still going to be, like half the polytunnel is still going to be like tomatoes. But I haven't even decided what tomatoes. You know what I mean? I would like a nice beef tomato there. I'd like a nice sweet little cherry one, and maybe again what Audrey introduced would do the Brad's Atomic again. But I haven't really give it much thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
It's when you've got all these options. It's so exciting.
Oh, I know, and I think
It's
that's
really
the
good.
the trouble we have where exactly right this year I ain't doing that. I'm not planting all them. Do you know what I mean? And then you get I've honestly got seeds, Jess. Like there's so many just like in there's piles of them. Do you know what I mean? And it's like I'm excited for every one. You know?
Yeah. I know. When I was doing this video this morning about seeds to sow in January. I was like, right, give me like 15 minutes and just whiz through. I know the packets I've got to get out. Spend about an hour because I'm going, oh, I forgot I had that one, and it's like going through. And then Ian sent me a load of Grown Local have sent me a load of like new varieties that I didn't know about. And there's one that's like a really long white aubergine. I've grown the little like egg
Yes.
aubergine ones before, but these are like really long. And I thought I'd really narrowed down my aubergines. I was only going to grow two varieties, and it's already like expanded to five this morning. It's just like,
We all
just
need more land, more land.
yeah,
What what about Jess tools? Because I hardly hardly use any tools. Like it's primarily no dig. You know what I mean? Maybe I've got the fork and the shovel. But is there a favorite tool you have? That's because I know for me, just if anyone's, it was the hori knife that Audrey introduced. What a remarkable tool that is. Have you got one that kind of stands out
I
for
was going to
you?
say it's the hori. It does everything.
Uh-huh.
It really, it's
It
the
is.
best.
Yeah. It like and dandelions stand no chance. Do you
Nothing. Yeah.
know?
It's just wonderful. And you just got it on you. You're opening your compost bags, you're digging things out, you're planting things. You can basically do the whole shebang with just one tool. I do like though is a scoop trowel, like a really wide, like
Yes.
the kind of birdseed scoop type trowel. I do like that because if you're, planting larger things, that works really well. The hori is a little bit catastrophic for the worms, like,
Just like,
yes.
just turn a blind eye. Oh, carry on. Is what are you like, Jess? With I'm terrible. I'll be honest. What are you like with dealing with problems in the garden? You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying catastrophe, but like a whole crop gets wiped out by slugs. And can you
Yeah,
can you get over? I mean, for a YouTuber, that's great because it's good content. Do you know what I mean?
exactly that. It's another thing, the unexpected thing that kind of having YouTube or Instagram or any other kind of way of sharing it is when something does go wrong. Not only is that going to be like I hate the word content, but you know what I mean. It is content, but at the same time, you've got this whole army of people who are going to commiserate with you. It does help, And then you say like, "Oh God, every single one of my pak choys has been eaten by this, that, and the other," and then you get all these people going, "Yeah, same happened to me," and it
Hmm.
sort of makes you feel a bit better about it. But um, I'm great with pests and diseases because a lot of the things that I know probably I should be trying, I just don't have any great faith in. Like we were discussing it the other day, I think, on Potty Mouth. It's like garlic spray for aphids. It's very difficult to kind of spray garlic on your aphids when your aphids are all over your garlic. It's like they don't mind garlic. They seem perfectly happy about garlic.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. I don't my biggest problem that I've got though is watering, like being consistent with the
Oh,
watering
yes.
is my biggest problem. Growing on sand as well. And I should do probably 3, 4 times the amount that I do. Every year I'm like, right, I'm going to be on it with the watering this year. And it's just doesn't happen.
How is your garden with watering? Have you have got a hose pipe there, have you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
we're allowed to use it direct off the tap. So we don't have to have like a water butt.
Uh-huh.
So you can use a hose. Uh, but I know it makes me sound like I'm right whinging because so many people have to do it with the
Oh, I
watering.
know, I know. No,
But
it's not that. It's just like it's. I'm exactly the same. You know, we've got like standpipes right next to us, so it's hose pipes, and I've got different coloured for different parts of the garden. But it's that consistency. You know, it's just yeah, I'm going up most days, but I'll miss. I can't remember. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah,
hoping these, quad growers take a little bit of that, that side out of
yeah,
it for me. So
yeah. I mean, most of the stuff outside, I mean, as you know, like it can pretty much fend for itself unless we have some like absolute burning heat. Um, but yeah, it's the stuff in the polytunnel and the greenhouse. And the other thing is I always try and get around it by having like trays of water underneath them. And it doesn't take long for that to go quite sort of stagnant and horrible. When it's just trays, like I don't think that's the case with quad grows, but when you're just kind of filling trays with water and it's hot, and then you end up with all the mosquitoes laying their larvae in
yes,
it. So it's
yes.
like walking into this kind of battleground in the in the greenhouse. But
On
just think this year watering.
Well, just before we kind of wrap up, then, Jess, just good things and bad things. Is there something bad that's kind of gets you with the allotment, and is there something good that kind of you really appreciate with the allotment and gardening in general?
I'd say the other thing that really like pests and diseases and things are annoying.
Hmm.
The thing that I probably found the most disheartening that's ever happened was when I had that issue with the watering, with the water on the tomatoes, when I just lost everything. That was really depressing. That's probably the only one that's really made me
Mine,
think,
that was
bugger.
just you couldn't get any. You know what I mean? For a gardener who loves, fruit and veg to get your whole kind of crop. I think in the end, folks
Depressing.
were giving you the odd
Yeah.
tomato. You know what I mean?
Actually, I found some really good. I'm struggling to remember who gave them to me. Actually, I have to look it up. But somebody sent me a whole load of short season tomatoes, like ones that come to fruit really fast for kind of northern territories type stuff. And I found some really good tomatoes in there, which I'm going to be trying outside this year. That's something I would love to be able to do is grow tomatoes outside, but the blight is just, yeah,
Right,
it's just a
right.
nightmare. So I'm going to try and grow some blight resistant varieties this year outside.
What about
Uh,
highs then, Jess? Is there any special, in your kind of time of gardening, not just YouTube, but just like the whole history of
yeah.
gardening? Is there something there you think, I was quite chuffed with that?
Do you know, I mean, it's always something. Every time something works, I'm like
Yes,
ecstatic.
it's germinated. Yes.
I'm downstairs. We sowed those onions on Boxing Day. I'm literally down there like that, like looking at them every day. But
Have
you
they
can,
have they have germinated? Yes.
yeah, they have. Yeah, they're all up now. The first, those Rinsberger came up really, really quick, and then the rest of them were just doing nothing. But they're all showing now. But I think comes around every single year. Every single year, I still feel like elated when you can go home with a huge bunch of asparagus. There's just something magnificent about homegrown asparagus. It just like comes up like these kind of prehistoric triffids, and I just think they're wonderful. That's
And
my
you
favorite
you you
crop.
mentioned you've had that asparagus bed for kind of years as well, haven't you? So
Yeah. And they're just beautiful. And that just being able to cut a whole, like a big bunch, it's just the best. That's what every year I look forward to that.
Jesse, honestly, it's been lovely kind of just digging in. And I'm really appreciate, kind of, me asking you like almost personal questions about family and that. So thank you so much for coming on and doing this. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Take good care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.